The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Shout out to the Coffee Club. How's everybody's morning going so far? Is everybody off to a good start? I hope so, man. I tell you what, though, in the event that you're not off to a good start this morning, let me fix that for you real quick with 48 seconds of soon-to-be Razorback Jordan Smith Jr. on Demon Time. All right. Okay. Everybody doing better now? You got the juices flowing a little bit. By the way, commitment announcement for Jordan Smith Jr. is officially coming on Friday. If you're in our Discord, you have known that for several days now, but really, really good to see him put it out there himself. Little Friday the 13th commitment action. That's electric, is it not? Gotta love it. Gotta love it. 5-star McDonald's All-American, the number 2 player in the 2026 class. The only guy ahead of him in the rankings is Tyron Stokes, who may have more pro upside, but I would argue, I think a lot of people would argue that Jordan Smith Jr. might wind up being the most impactful college freshman in this class next year. The group of finalists, Arkansas, Duke, Georgetown, Syracuse, Kentucky, and Indiana. Unless Cal gets baba'd randomly in the midnight hour, and I don't see that happening, the Razorbacks are about to land their Darius Acuff replacement. And I don't say those words lightly, okay, because Acuff is having a generational type of season for Arkansas, legendary type of season for Arkansas. They are different players, but Jordan Smith Jr. is an absolute beast, as John Calipari loves to say. On both ends of the floor, he gets it done. I mean, you watched the little clip there, right? My goodness. The dude is built different. If people say Darius Acuff looks like a safety out there, then Jordan Smith Jr. might be, what, a linebacker? That's a grown man right there. His game reminds me so much of Kawhi Leonard with his movements, his mannerisms in there. The difference being he's 6'2". But maybe he has a little more height in him, honestly. Remember Malik Thomas, what was he listed at? 6'3", 170 or something on all his recruiting profiles, and everybody was thinking, is he going to be big enough? Can he defend on the wing? Is he going to have the strength and physicality? How's he going to hold up? And then he showed up and he was 6'5". And probably 15 pounds heavier than we thought he was going to be. I think about Jordan Smith Jr., he's got that 6'9" wingspan to go with that 6'2" frame. So it makes you wonder, could he become 6'4", 6'5"? Maybe he's got another growth spurt in him. Either way, it helps that he is built like a Mack truck, right? Really, really fun player. If you've been tapping in this show, you've been hearing us talking about him for, goodness gracious, the better part of a year now. So anyway, don't want to spend too much time on it because I have a feeling, hint, hint, wink, wink, we're going to be spending a lot of time on it here pretty soon, but be on the lookout for that commitment coming Friday. He's making his announcement before his game on Friday the 13th, so it'll probably be early evening in the Central Time Zone. We'll give Arkansas 3 imposing dudes in this class, wouldn't it? Jordan Smith Jr., J.J. Andrews, Abdu Toure, 3 freaks athletically, physically. I love it. It's a hell of a start. As for the rest of today's show, my, what a difference a few days can make, right? We're going to take a look at the improvements Arkansas has made with its resume after a road trip where the Hogs went 2-0 and they outscored their opponents by a combined 49 points. We've got a couple sound bites, actually one sound bite from John Calipari that I want to get into. I want to discuss my thoughts on the rotation when Arkansas gets back to full strength here and what that might look like. We might bounce around to some other things at the end, but let's go ahead and get into it. Shout out to our buddy Sharkensaw sponsoring us here at the Pod at the Palace with his spot, Mad Labs. Mad Labs is a small independent code studio that does custom websites and web apps internet tools, dashboards, admin systems, and so much more. They're really a great fit for small businesses and teams with existing software that maybe they already had established, but could use a little bit of a makeover, clean it up, modernize it. Could be for business founders who want to build something properly the first time, do it right out of the gates. They focus on software that's built carefully and holds up over time, and they help you move beyond those builders out there, right? Like Wix and Squarespace, things like that. So when those tools start to feel a little bit too limiting for you, this is where MadLab really starts to come in handy. If you or your business is looking to build out or revamp a website or an app, let MadLabs help you. Take advantage of their special Inside Arkansas offer by scanning the QR code on your screen for a free 30-minute strategy call, and let MadLabs take your business where you want it to be. I mean, there's nothing better than a little 2-0 road swing, right? And it's honestly amazing how 4 days, I guess it was, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days can just completely reshape a resume. Arkansas played 2 games. They picked up a pair of quad 1 wins and a quad 2 win, thanks to Oklahoma finally winning a basketball game and bumping back up there for Arkansas. But I have a graphic for you guys that I want to pull up here because it's pretty impressive what they've been able to accomplish by just beating the hell out of a couple bottom feeders in the SEC, but doing it in an emphatic fashion. That's what we've been waiting on. I feel like I spend the entire months of November and December talking about style points and how Arkansas needs to crush the cans and really beat up on these bad teams. And I guess that plays when you're playing some of the bottom teams in your conference as well. But I mean, look at the resume bump that Arkansas has got from these 2 games. It's pretty impressive, man. It really is. Resume metrics are up to an average of 18, predictives up to 20. And I mean, dang, 7 spots in the net rankings, up 9 spots at KenPom, 16th at KenPom. Man, they're getting up there. 23rd now at Torvik. That's 6 spots up, 9 spots up in BPI from 30 up into number 21. KPI is getting up there. That was that pesky one for the longest there at 21 there, 17 in wins above bubble, 16 in strength of record. And then the offensive and defensive efficiencies. Arkansas was already a top 10 offense, but they're sitting at 6th in the country right now. And the biggest movement there for the Razorbacks, defense, right? 26 spot jump nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency in just 2 games. Really impressive stuff. If you look at the averages between the resume metrics and the predictive metrics, Arkansas is actually higher in both of those than BYU and St. Louis, who remain ahead of them in the net right now. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just pointing it out. Florida and Vanderbilt would be the 2 SEC teams right now that, in fairness, have stronger resumes. Now, we could argue all day. I don't think we could argue too much about Florida. Arkansas gets to go and play them in a couple of weeks, and then we'll know for sure. But, the Razorbacks really beat up on Vanderbilt. A lot of people, kind of look at them and say, were they a product of a soft schedule and non-conference play? I think they're playing well. I think there's a case to be made for Arkansas there. You see them separated by about a seed line in most projections out there. I'm going to be anxious to see what that looks like by the end of the year, honestly. But looking at the schedule ahead, still some opportunities out there. I mean, Auburn, unfortunately, is suddenly down to a quad 2 game thanks to their 3-game losing streak. They've been scuffling a little bit. It's going to be one of those where if Arkansas wins, it's a Q2. If they lose, it'll be a Q1. I think that's what happened with Kentucky, actually. But we don't need to be thinking that way about Arkansas losing this game at home. Not after the way you looked the last time you played Auburn, not after the way you looked the last time you were at home. They need to come out there and have a good performance, or it's going to be a little bit deflating. Into the world? Absolutely not. They're still in great shape, but that would be very, very frustrating if they were to lay an egg at home after all this. I guess part of it's going to depend on who the heck is available and who's not, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more, and we're not going to know for sure probably until Saturday before the game. But at any rate, beyond that, Alabama, that's a quad 1 game on the road for Arkansas. Missouri is a quad 2 game at home, although they just picked up a huge win. So that's going to continue to bump up there. It won't get all the way to where it's a quad 1 for Arkansas and Fayetteville, but it will be a quad 1 opportunity for them when they go on the road to Mizzou. Texas A&M is stumbling. It's going to be a quad 2 game since it's in Fayetteville. Florida obviously will be a quad 1 on the road. Texas, that's a quad 2 game at home, but they're creeping up there. I think they're 34th in the net. You get to the top 30, it's going to be a Q1. I think they play at Missouri on Saturday. And I mean, they could theoretically bump up there. Wouldn't be crazy. So, yeah, and you see those bumps in the metrics, and all of a sudden, if you think about before that Mississippi State game, you were looking at bracketology, right? And all the projections and everything out there. And Arkansas had slid back, and most people had them projected as a 6 seed. I was seeing some that were coming out there and putting them as a 7. You're thinking, yeah, they're kind of heading in the wrong direction. They're going to be fine in terms of getting in there and everything. But boy, it just feels like this team should wind up getting a better seed with the type of group that they have. And you get these wins, and all of a sudden, all those computer numbers start to match some of the wins that you gotten, the record. And there you have Arkansas looking a lot prettier. Seed line bump for beating LSU, man. That's crazy. According to Torvik, if Arkansas simply goes 4-3 the rest of the way, 4-3 over these last 7, they are right on the cut line between a 4 and a 5 seed. Pretty solid stuff there. And that's without taking into account anything in the SEC tournament. Joe Lunardi right now has Arkansas 1 spot off protected seed range. So they are the top 5 seed, according to him. Moving on up, man. It's a beautiful thing and some great opportunities there. You think about seed line bumps and things that could get you into a different discussion. You need to handle your business at home, right, for the most part. But if they're able to pop either Florida or Alabama on the road, there's a pathway to this team doing something pretty cool. So SEC update after the midweek games. Florida on Wednesday, they beat Georgia like a drum. Georgia, both times they played Florida. The first game, Big Samto got ejected for hitting Chinyalu in the face. And so they were without him. They got blown out at Florida. This game, I don't know what's wrong with him, but Jeremiah Wilkinson, their leading scorer, out, didn't play, and they just got handled in that game. And Florida they look like they've figured some things out. It's weird because they still cannot shoot a lick. I mean, they are sub 30% from 3, but that front court is nasty. They're defending at a super high level. They look the part, man. They do. As for Georgia, I don't know if Georgia's going to make the NCAA tournament, folks. They are sliding. I wondered about that. I have felt like this is going to be a loss that wouldn't age well for Arkansas when they went down there. I don't know, man. I need to look at the rest of their schedule and see what they have left, but it ain't looking good for them. Florida remains at the top of the league standings going into the weekend. They're a game up on Arkansas. Alabama won big at Ole Miss. I was very happy to hear that Chris Beard and Charles Bediako are pen pals or whatever now. I guess there's silver linings and everything. Missouri, credit to them. They walked into Texas A&M and beat the Aggies, kind of beat Buckyball playing their game. So both of those teams, both Missouri and Texas A&M, are at 7-4 now. Mizzou, that's probably enough to get them not off the bubble, but on the right side of it in terms of March Madness projections. Tennessee, I didn't watch a whole lot of that because it was just an ugly, ugly watch, but they got it done at Mississippi State. They had built up a pretty sizable lead there. I think they were up by 20 or so, gave up a 16-0 run. They just couldn't score for the longest. Tennessee, they wound up winning by, I think, 9 or something there at Mississippi State, but kind of an ugly game. It's one of those where you just take the dub on the road and move on to your next one. But very consequential weekend coming up, right? So heading into Saturday, you've got Florida, alone in first place. They're 9-2. Arkansas and Kentucky both a game back at 8-3. Kentucky plays at Florida on Saturday, so that's going to be a massive result. Arkansas obviously has Auburn, but then you have Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Missouri all right there at 7-4. So kind of nipping at your heels. Arkansas needs to hold serve at home against Auburn and keep that breathing room. A&M and Vandy play each other. That game's in Nashville, by the way. So somebody from that group of 7-4 teams is going to catch an L. But like Bama gets South Carolina, so they're probably going to be in an okay spot. That's going to be the next game. That's the midweek for Arkansas on the road. Mizzou hosts Texas, as we mentioned. That's a very interesting game. Huge game for both teams, right? Like Mizzou did themselves a lot of good Wednesday night with their victory. You don't want to turn around and follow it up by losing at home to Texas, and Texas is going to need that one to keep themselves kind of on the right side of the conversation there. And then Tennessee, they host LSU. I would be stunned if they lost that one after what we've seen from LSU playing in their own building. It hasn't necessarily been pretty for them, has it? Hey, today's episode of the Pot Palace is presented by Hickey & Hull Law Partners here in Arkansas, where they handle matters such as divorce, custody, criminal, civil litigation, and more. Hickey and Hull Law, they know the foundation of a strong attorney-client relationship is honesty and trust, and they pride themselves on building relationships with their clients by providing honest, principled advice and representation. They push the case forward for their clients, advocating for them in a diligent and consistent manner from start to finish. Hickey and Hull Law has offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479-434-2414, or you can check out their website, visit hickeyandhull.com, or scan the QR code in the corner of your screen. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. Okay. So, like I said, I've got one clip from John Calipari's post-game press conference with LSU that I want to share with you guys, but it's one clip. It's like 1 minute and 10 seconds long, and he mentions basically 3 things that I wanted to discuss before we got out of here for the day. So I'm going to play the clip in its entirety, and then we'll kind of break it all down and chat about it. So here's what Cal had to say.
We were so bad defensively 2-3 weeks ago that some of the stuff is going back to the basics of how my teams have guarded in the past. And so we had to do some different things in pick and roll. We had to do some different things on the pickup point. We had to do some different things on how we presented ourselves defensively. And we've just been working on it. Rebounding, again, we just got to keep getting better. And some of it is just get the ball. It's got to mean something more than your offense, getting that ball. But that's made a difference in what we're doing. But, we go from here. We got 7 games. We could lose all 7. We could lose all 7. They're all the top of our league. And now we'll see if we're getting better and maybe we get healthy now. Malik had to get 4 stitches, Ewan. So he has till Saturday. At least he's got time. Hopefully he'll be all right.
Okay, so we'll start from the beginning of that and kind of work our way through. So first thing, I got to be honest with you, I'm really glad he said what he said about the defense. Because this is not just as simple as, well, DJ and Carter aren't playing and all of a sudden this team can guard. No, that's not it. And it's also not as simple as saying, well, Arkansas played 2 bad teams, so of course the defense looked good. Let's not have revisionist history here. It hasn't mattered who they've played for a majority of the season. The defense has struggled. They are doing some things differently. They're doing some things better. I think that you can see not only like a renewed energy and spirit and a hunger on that end. That's a big part of what's been missing for them. But they've made some tweaks here and there that I think are very, very noticeable. Pick and roll defense looks a lot better, does it not? Sometimes you just got to go back to the old school, tried and true, hard hedge and recover method. And Arkansas is doing that. They're doing it with urgency, and it makes sense with as mobile as the bigs are. Nick Pringle's good at that. If you're comfortable switching pick and rolls with Nick Pringle, then you should be comfortable hard hedging and having him turn and sprint back and recover. And that increases your paint defense when you're able to do that, because then you don't have Darius Acuff switched onto a center, right? Malik Ewan, when does he look the best defensively in ball screen action? It's when he's blitzing them, double teaming them. And essentially what a hard hedge is you get out ahead of the ball handler on that screen and you force the ball handler to change the direction of his dribble, and it allows your guard to recover. Then you turn and sprint back instead of doubling. So it's nearly the same thing. And they look pretty good at doing that. So that's part of it. Also, the point of attack defense is much, much improved. And he kind of mentioned that in there. It's hard to get anything done on that end of the floor when you can't keep the ball in front of you at the top of the key. Sometimes these teams don't even have to initiate their offense to get something going because they're beating you off the bounce right away. And then it's just paint touch kick out or paint touch dump off. And Arkansas's really struggled with that. They've been a lot better here recently. Acuff has been a lot better about keeping the ball in front of them. And they just seem a little bit more locked in. The help has been better. The communication on their switches has been better. You love to see it. A big part of Arkansas's struggles, because if you go look at, and we've talked about this before, like the tempo rates at KenPom. Okay, we know Arkansas plays fast, but they break it down based on offense and defense. Arkansas obviously plays fast. They get shots off pretty quick in their offensive possessions. But on defense, It's actually taking teams longer. Their average length of possession is a lot longer. What that means is Arkansas is pretty good in the half court, guarding initial actions. The first rotation or ball reversal, they're good for it. But I'll never forget Chuck Martin saying before the Mississippi State game during the bye week that a lot of times the last 10 seconds of the shot clock, it comes down to their ball screen offense versus your ball screen defense. And so Arkansas has made tweaks to that, and they've gotten better about what else happens in those situations. Clear out, ISO, one-on-one. My guy's going to get by your guy. And Arkansas has gotten better from that standpoint as well. So that's good. And the other thing is I noticed what Cal was talking about defensively when he said the way we present ourselves defensively. And what he's talking about, and this seems simple. It seems like it should just be a thing that everybody does. Arkansas doesn't. They are now. Everybody has their hands up off the ball. They're big. They're standing tall. They're in stance, hands up, hands high. They're closing out with high active hands on these shooters. As long as this team is, if you do that, and it just seems like such a simple thing, but if you do that, all of a sudden the passing lanes, the driving lanes, the line of sight for ball handlers and guards, that all shrinks. It looks a lot smaller when you do something that simple. It matters. It makes a difference. Try not to underestimate the work that these guys put in to get better on the coaching staff. And sometimes it's as simple as simplifying things a little bit, practicing fundamentals and not reinventing the wheel, not going to a full-on zone defense or completely switching up what you're doing or benching a bunch of guys or whatever. It's we need to get the fundamentals down and do these things right and trust that we are athletic and talented enough to then be a good defensive team. And those are some of the things we're starting to see. Now, we would all love to see it carry over against Auburn, a team that can really score it, right? But if you think about it, and I'm not trying to cape for Mississippi State or LSU here, but it was an LSU team that scored a lot on you previously, and they didn't in this game. But Mississippi State in particular, say what you want about that team, and they're not any good, but they do have Josh Hubbard, right? And they do have Jaden Epps. But Josh Hubbard is the type of guy that has torched Arkansas all season. Worse guards than him have given Arkansas hell defensively, and I thought they did a phenomenal job on him. So that, to me, is notable. Now you get to deal with Keyshawn Hall and Tahad Pettiford and all those guys. We'll see what it looks like. But if they keep doing the same things, those little changes, play with the same energy and effort and intensity and urgency on that end of the floor, they should be okay. They should be okay. The other thing from Cal, he said that they could lose all 7 of their remaining games. I'm like, whoa, okay. Let's not put that out into the ether, right? That's weird energy, coach. But I get his point, what he's saying. And he's right that the teams left, well, not necessarily all at the top of the league. That's what he said. But they are either up there at the top of the league. You think about Florida, right? Or at a minimum, they're in the tournament picture. All of them. Every single one of them. We just talked about it all. What the Hogs represent for teams like Missouri or Texas. And honestly, if you really look at it now, Auburn is a resume stamp opportunity that all those teams need. If they want to give themselves some breathing room, if they want to lock up their spot, get off the bubble, whatever, a great way to do that, beat a really good team like Arkansas. No matter what building you're playing in, Arkansas is a quadrant 1 opportunity, and we know how precious those things are. You have to expect everyone's best shot, and you have to be ready to deliver yours. Arkansas can't have any more sleepy time. You hope now that they've had back-to-back really strong showings on the road that we're going to get just a level of consistency from them that we've been waiting to see all season. Isn't the biggest thing for you guys? I don't think Arkansas is going to play this good every single game the rest of the year. They're probably going to have some nights where they don't shoot it particularly well, or they're going to have some games where there's a matchup that's causing them problems defensively. But showing up to play with focus and with max effort, those little things like that, it's just not something we've been able to count on all season long. And they've stacked a couple games now. I like their mindset. I like where they're at. I think they also sense it's business time, right? Like, here we are, 11 games into league play. We're middle of February. Everything's right there in front of us. Let's stack wins. Let's go try to win this league. Let's see what kind of seed we can get. Let's try to play our best ball going into March. I think you can sense this team coming together, the competitiveness, the chemistry seems good if they're in there singing happy birthday, right, and giving a cake to John Calipari. Those are all good things. Let's see them continue to stack those types of high effort performances. But the main thing, and the last thing that I want to get to here today, is Cal's quick note on, what did he say? Maybe we'll get better and maybe we'll get healthy now. It kind of came out of his mouth as if Auburn was the target all along for DJ and Carter. This is just me reading body language and tone and stuff like that. We'll see, right? I don't know. We'll see. I get the sense that they're expecting to have at least one of them back, but you got to think about it here. I'm recording late Wednesday night. They had today off, Wednesday off. They'll practice Thursday. They'll practice Friday. You know how Cal is. Like, if those guys are trying to play one or both of them, whatever, they're going to need to be out there. They're going to need to look good. They're going to need to not have any setbacks, anything like that. So very, very much TBD from that front. Once again, I'll be waiting until later into the night Friday to see that initial injury report before I record anything for preview purposes for Auburn, right? But he also had his note on Malik Ewan getting 4 stitches and that hopefully he would be good for Saturday. Okay. He can play stitched up. That's a non-issue for Arkansas. And yeah, he's got 4 days or whatever. They would just cover the stitches. It's fine. Barring a concussion, frankly, he's going to be okay. And it was weird that, the way he got hit, it was like a delayed reaction and everything. I almost wonder if it was he realized that he got busted open, blood was rushing down his face, and it was kind of like, whoa. Like, I know for me that would be kind of startling if I had that realization of, oh, damn, like I'm busted open, man. This is crazy. So I think he's okay, but we'll have to wait and see. Keep in mind, when Cal was making those comments, it was 5 minutes after the game ended. So he really didn't have that much of a clue how Ewan was feeling. He knows that he got stitched up, right? But what I want to do, though, because we have time, so why not, is tackle the hypothetical here. So the silver lining is Auburn, they are 7 deep at this point. There are 7 guys on that basketball team that they trust to play. It's their 5 starters. It's Elijah Freeman and it's Filip Jovic, what Cal call him, the big white guy or whatever. They're trying to find an 8th. They play an 8th in every game, but they can't stick with anyone. They've rotated through several guys. First it was Magwood, and then it was this other little guard that I don't even know who he is. And now they're trying someone else in there. They can't seem to find the 8th man that they like, but they seem like a team that wants to play 8. Okay, so they're not very deep either. That's notable because Arkansas might be at full strength. They might be screwed. So let's look at this from absolute worst case to best case scenario and how Arkansas might be able to manage any type of different situation they find themselves in. Worst case scenario for Arkansas in this game, DJ and Carter are still out and Malik Ewan can't go. Now, let's get this out of the way now. That is code red, bleep, danger zone if that happens. Let's also get this out of the way now. John Calipari will not expand his rotation beyond what he already has. He's not doing it. It's not going to happen. So skip the questions in the comments about Paulo Samito, who is hurt and who is redshirting. He is not playing this season. It's not going to happen under any circumstance. Or putting Elmer in there or anything. It's not going to happen. If there was a foul trouble emergency, what I mean by that is if you have 6 playable guys and 2 of them foul out, they would go to Jaden Carletwa. He would be the guy that they would put in there. Okay, I'm just telling you that's what it would be. But they would play with 6 under this scenario for the entire game if they could get away with it. How do you feel about that? Not great. But you probably feel a little bit better about it than you otherwise would have, a couple games ago. I personally feel a lot better about the prospects of, and we stumped for this during the bye week, and now I feel like a genius, but Trevor Brazile a little bit at the 5. with how he's played recently, blocking shots, being aggressive all over the defensive boards. You would have to do that, right? If Ewan's not available, Pringle, there's no way in hell he plays 40 minutes. He can't do it. He will foul out. There's no way around it, man. So TB would have to play some at the 5, which would mean you'd be doing quite a bit of small ball. You would need more minutes than normal from Pringle, right? Like you feel like if he's in the 18 to 22 range most games, that's fine, but you'd probably want 25 plus out of him if you could get it, 30 if you could get it. But TB would play small ball center, which would mean Sealy at this point his minutes would go even higher. He played 15 against Mississippi State, 13 against LSU. In this scenario, he's getting 25 minutes, and your guards just don't leave the floor. They can't. So that would be a tricky situation for Arkansas to have to navigate. Being at home would help. Playing a team that's not very deep either would help, but we really, really hope that's not the case, right? So what else could happen? Let's say that Ewan is out, and again, for the record, I don't necessarily think that he will miss the game, but we won't know until tomorrow night, I guess. But if he's out, and let's say Arkansas gets one or both of Carter and DJ back, well, then this gets easier to handle, right? It would still be Pringle at the 5 and TB getting those other minutes there, so there would still be small ball involved. But if you get Carter back, that gives you a lot more flexibility because he's one of your better matchups on Keyshawn Hall anyway. And that's the other big factor here for Arkansas with what they will have to do. You've been able to do a decent enough job of staying out of major foul trouble with this shorthanded team. Keyshawn Hall draws more fouls than anybody in the country. So, and he plays the 4. So right now, either you've kind of got to put Trevin on a guard in a way and put Billy on him, and Billy's already got, he's a little handsy in there with the fouls as it is. Arkansas needs to get some guys back because I could see foul trouble being an issue in this game more so than the other ones. We'll see. But if you have Carter, that helps a lot for Arkansas. And this wouldn't have made a difference in the game at all at Auburn, but Carter played 7 minutes. He got that hit pointer, and then he was out the last time. And Keyshawn Hall goes for 30. I'm not saying that Carter Knox would have locked him down or anything, but if you think about the inside-out dynamic that Hall brings to the table, his size, his versatility, of all the guys on the roster, Carter makes the most sense defending him because Billy can guard him on the perimeter, but would really struggle inside. Trevin can guard him inside, probably is going to struggle on the perimeter. Sealy, from a size perspective, would actually make some sense there, but that's a really tough ask to put your true freshman who hasn't played much for you all season on the best scorer in the conference, although they literally just did it with Josh Hubbard, but that's a little bit different. But say, what if Carter was out and it was DJ that was back? I don't know that it helps your front court situation or your matchups much, but I would imagine Sealy would still get quite a bit of burn. You'd have to put a lot on him, but it would help you keep your backcourt a little bit fresher, right? If Malik Ewan plays, but both DJ and Carter are out, it would be the same as the last couple games, what Arkansas has done, which has worked out for him so far. This is a different set of circumstances, but I imagine like the minutes and everything would look pretty much the exact same. If Ewan plays and you get one of those guys back, that probably cuts into Sealy's time. To be honest, if it was DJ returning and Carter was still out, I think Sealy probably still gets a look. He might not get as much time, but I think he would still get a look in there. If it's Carter back and not DJ, I don't know exactly what that would look like for Isaiah. Would that give Cal the confidence then to get Malik or Acuff an extra little breather in there and just have Billy play more guard because you would have Carter back? Maybe. So it's crazy to think about all these things. And this is what the staff has to do right now. And we're just doing it in real time. But this kind of brings me to our final scenario here that I hope that we get to this on Saturday. If not then, very, very soon, right? But if Arkansas is at full strength, how does Cal approach this? Because he's got a lot of things to think about, doesn't he? I'm going to play the two things can be true at once game here, the Andrew Ellis special. So Arkansas needs Carter Knox and DJ Wagner healthy and back in the fold. But the Hogs may have found something with this current core group that's been playing for them. The way I see it is like this, and I'll be curious to see how everybody else is feeling about it. But let's start in the backcourt. There's no denying that Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas need to be sharing the floor for a vast, vast majority of the minutes at this stage of the season. They're just too good. They're too dynamic. That being said, I don't know that you can play them 38 to 40 minutes a night and expect the same results every night. Like, you just can't do that without burning them out. Can we not burn them out heading into the tournament, especially when you know you're going to be in at this point? You got to find ways to get them some rest here and there. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. They're just going to play a lot, but you would be amazed at the difference a couple minutes could make. You would be amazed at the difference in being able to get them out for, what was it, 1 minute and 41 seconds at the end of the game the other night. It does. It matters. It adds up. But in my opinion, when DJ Wagner returns, he's back in the rotation, period. He's not going to, if you feel like he's going to get healthy and be cleared and dress out and not play, you're crazy. That's not going to be a thing. But I do feel like his role needs to become much more streamlined. And it was kind of already trending in this direction anyway, but maybe even more so now. You get Acuff and Leak both one below each in the first half. So 3 to 4 minutes apiece, which means, anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes in the first half for DJ, in my opinion. The exception would be foul trouble, right? Somebody gets 2 fouls early. Fine. He's going to play more. Great. After halftime, I think it's the same deal, but it's only if the game allows, right? So maybe those are shorter stints. Maybe it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes for both of those guys strategically. Maybe you get one of them out early. Maybe you have one of them who comes out midway through the half and then is there with you for the full stretch run. Is what it is. Maybe it's just a minute apiece ahead of a media timeout or something. Honestly, they need to be on the floor. So I'm thinking somewhere in that 10 to 12, 14 minute per game range for DJ. And if, fouls or if you need to play 3 guards because of matchups or whatever, if anything dictates it, sure, fine, extend it. That's okay. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know about you guys. With Carter, though, I'm pretty firm on this on all fronts. One, Billy's got to stay in the lineup, right? I mean, he has to. He's been too good. When he starts, Arkansas starts so much better in these games. He's earned it. There's no reason to take him out of there. Keep him in, right? And you have the built-in excuse of, hey, he stepped in, he did his part, and we want to keep this thing rolling and integrate you back into it. It's easy enough to sell, right? I also think he has to, he has to get his minutes. He has to have his 25 minutes a game, 25 minutes plus at this point. So in my opinion, and I think this might be where some folks will start disagreeing, I don't know, but I think Carter just simply takes all of Isaiah Sealy's minutes. And then he gives Trevin the occasional breather at the 4, because I feel the same way about Trevin, even more so actually than I do Acuff and Leak. It's awesome. You want him out there most of the game. You can't play him 40 minutes. He's got to be able to get a break in there. And look, I love Zay. I do. But I don't know, and I don't want to take anything away from what he's done, because he's really, really, really given Arkansas a lift in these 2 games. He has. I don't know that he's done enough to just supplant Carter Knox. Okay. Even if Carter hasn't had the season that you've anticipated, because you need Carter's ability to play as a swing man, the 3 or the 4, his defensive versatility out there. You need his floor spacing. Arkansas needs another guy out there who can get some threes up. They do. That's important. You need his rebounding. It's interesting. That's one thing that Isaiah has. I thought he would be actually pretty solid from that standpoint, and maybe not so much in other areas like defense and everything. It turns out it's been the opposite. He hasn't rebounded much. He's been really good on defense and doing some other things, whatever. But you need Carter out there. You do, but you don't need him taking Billy's minutes. And we did a whole segment on one of the shows last week about how these guys don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can play them together more. We just mentioned how maybe Billy is getting some guard minutes. Carter can play the wing. Maybe they can play the 3 and the 4 together. There are different ways that you can keep them both out there on the floor. I think this is the way for Carter to have a very solid and important and consistent spot in the rotation without it having to come at the expense of Billy Richmond. That's very important to me. So he gets the 12 to 15 minutes on the wing that Billy doesn't play. And Billy plays too hard to be a 30-plus minute per game guy. He just does, man. Go look at his game logs for his entire career. When he's going max effort the way that he does, he's a 25 to 28 minute a game kind of guy. And that's great. That's fine. So Carter gets those, and then he, 4 minutes, 8 minutes at the 4, depending on matchups and what you need with TB. So from a minute standpoint, I'm thinking something like 34 for Acuff, 34 for Leak. You get them one breather per half. Let's say high end, 28 for Billy, 32 for Trevin, 20 and 20 for Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan. It'll vary from game to game based on who's going to play well. You got 20 for Carter, 12 for DJ. You got your 8-man rotation. That's all your minutes. Let's go to war. Does that sound fair? Are you guys mad that I cut Sealy out of that? Here's what Cal's not going to do. I really don't think he's going to do this. He's not going to get everybody back and then all of a sudden play 9. You're not going to shrink it down to 6 or 7 players and start having all this success and then get healthy and expand it all the way to 9. He's not going to do it. Somebody's going to be out of it. And frankly, I think it's going to be Sealy. It's no knock on him. Talked about it. Love him. Think he's got a bright future. But I think that's where Arkansas is at. Now, the other part of this is if you're Carter and DJ, if you kind of have to earn that, though, right? I know they're going to be trying to integrate him back in there, and who knows if there's going to be any sort of, I don't think there will be like a restriction on, on minutes or, a cap or anything like that, because, I mean, what did Cal just say after the Mississippi State game about DJ? Like, we're not going to play him if he's 80%. He's got to be full go with the way that he plays, how hard that he plays. So I can't imagine them bringing those guys back and then being like, well, he can only give us 10 in this game, right? But they have to earn their keep in there. What can't happen is those guys can't get back in, and then all of a sudden they're dragging the team down. And they weren't doing that before. The team was dragging itself down. They were just part of it. Okay, let's be fair about this. But bare minimum, they got to come in, and for me, it's defense and intensity. I don't really care how much those guys score. I think you need the perimeter shooting from both of them, but you don't need them in there gunning it, right? This is Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, Trevin Brazile, this is their team from an offensive standpoint. It just is. The rest of you get in where you fit in. And those two guys fit in from defending, playing really, really hard, and buying into the kind of this new identity that Arkansas has found on that end of the floor. You got to have that, or you can sit and watch, because Arkansas has already proved that they can do this without you. But if they bring that, and then, man, you get between the two of them, 2 or 3 threes per game, I think you're in a really good spot there. But my hope is that seeing the team thrive without them has them extra motivated to come in and be ready to roll here. So we'll see. Maybe they get them all back for Saturday. Maybe they don't. But we have now covered all the bases there. And I'm sure if we find out any information on Friday night, on Saturday morning's preview, we're going to have more to say about it. But I am going to get out of here for now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Stay locked in for the recruiting stuff. It feels like it might be a multi-episode day for the Pod at the Palace on Friday. Gosh, I'm excited about the potential, man, of this incoming class. I'm not going to get onto a tangent about it, because we're going to have plenty of opportunities to talk about that here moving forward. But you think about that trio that it looks like they're getting ready to complete here with Jordan Smith Jr. and J.J. Andrews and Abdu Torre. It's just, it's nasty, man. That is a tough, physical, rugged, defensive-minded, high-rebounding, grown man group right there to set a tone with. And, if you think about the potential of, maybe like a Billy coming back, or, whoever, and if they go out there and get a true rim protector, a beast in there in the paint, who's going to score on Arkansas, man? I don't know. So I don't know. we'll talk about all those hypotheticals when we get there, and hopefully that happens soon. But I'm out of here. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you in the morning. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pot to Palace. We'll catch you next time.